we know what's going on over there, and we're going to let the world know what's going on. It is unacceptable. We've been through this before. We saw General Eisenhower after World War II, when he went to the concentration camps, say never again. But it's going on, and it's going on right now. The Chinese Communist Party's repression is the greatest threat to global human rights and democratic freedoms. As I said in an op-ed I published last year titled China's Second Century of Humiliation, Xi Jinping is the most accomplished human rights violator alive today. And history will record that. And I hope he is listening. Xi has directed the party to use all organs of dictatorship to oppress people. Over and over again, the nature of the Chinese Communist Party is revealed, but despite the scale of these abuses, the world remains largely silent. Our goal is to make them wake up so that their hearing aids are turned on. In fact, many countries openly support the CCP's atrocities. In the UN and on the international stage, dozens of countries have defended China's concentration camps. Unacceptable. And the international response to Beijing's ongoing interference in Hong Kong has been limited at best. More and more countries are adopting oppressive laws modeled after China's digital authoritarianism, and the CCP is exporting its repression around the world. He has offered ZTE technology to Maduro in Venezuela. Iran wants it. Putin wants it. And I can't think of a better tool for a dictator. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I won't need more than 10. First off, thank you for the job you've done. I think you've been a very valuable and effective chairman. I'll be sad to see you leave, but I'm glad you're pointing to that fellow there, because I think Dr. Barra will do an outstanding job in your footsteps, so thank you for your service. The social credit scores of China, wow, what a powerful tool. Wouldn't any government love to be able to control their citizens so that nobody runs a red light, nobody crosses, jaywalks? What a great tool. But what a threat to freedom and liberty. This is a scary thing that we're going on, and this hearing is so important. And I want to thank Chairman Sherman and our brave witnesses for making the hearing possible today. There is no more important topic for the subcommittee to focus on. And this is a message that needs to get out to the world. This is something that our manufacturers, our NBA, not only the owners, but the players need to understand what is going on. How many people in the audience are from Xinjiang or your Uyghurs, or you've been to that area? How many people? And I'm doing this because I know China's probably going to watch us, and I hope you guys are okay with that. We know what's going on over there, and we're going to let the world know what's going on. It is unacceptable. We've been through this before. We saw General Eisenhower after World War II, when he went to the concentration camps, say never again. But it's going on, and it's going on right now. And every time you buy a product that says made in China, you're empowering the suppressive communist regime, which incidentally, in their manifesto, in their statements, say there is no higher power than the Chinese Communist Party, period. There is no deity. Xi Jinping is the closest thing to a deity in China. And the role of the Chinese people, according to the Chinese Communist Party, is to serve the Chinese Communist Party. Whereas in Western democracies, the role of the government is to protect the God-given rights of our citizens and to empower our citizens. And this is why this message and this hearing is so important, because that message needs to get out. When our manufacturers go over there, they do it for profit. When NBA goes over there, they do it for profit at the expense of people that you know. The Chinese Communist Party's repression is the greatest threat to global human rights and democratic freedoms. As I said in an op-ed I published last year titled China's Second Century of Humiliation, Xi Jinping is the most accomplished human rights violator alive today. And history will record that. And I hope he is listening. Our witnesses today are on the front lines of a global struggle against Xi Jinping and his Communist Party that offers socialism with Chinese characteristics. Give me a break. It's communism with suppression on steroids. They are leaders. They are leaders. The brave Hong Kongers like Joey here. Thank you for coming to our office, and I appreciate what you all are standing up to do. And I know you've put your life in jeopardy, but you're standing up for those innate values that we've all been born with, of liberty and freedom. So thank you for standing against the CCP's foot soldiers to defend their rights and wake up the world to their threat. Furqat, you've shown the world a shining example of bravery in the face of oppression. Somebody heard one of your podcasts today. They were sharing the story, and they broke down in tears with your story, and I hope you share that today. As you fight to free his family from the horrific imprisonments. Dr. Richardson and Dr. Zenz, thank you for being here. You guys are global leaders in bringing the CCP's abuse to light. The human rights challenges we all face is massive in scale. The recent leaks of secret party documents on Xinjiang, the Xinjiang papers, revealed the worst of the abuses occurring inside China and are personally directed by Xi Jinping himself. This is a wake-up call, and I'm glad these papers came out, because this is people within the Chinese Communist Party knowing what he's doing is bad. And so this is something that the more we talk about this and the more we bring this out in the awareness campaign, the more it's going to affect their decisions. Xi has directed the party to use all organs of dictatorship to oppress people. Over and over again, the nature of the Chinese Communist Party is revealed, but despite the scale of these abuses, the world remains largely silent. Our goal is to make them wake up so that their hearing aids are turned on. In fact, many countries openly support the CCP's atrocities. In the UN and on the international stage, dozens of countries have defended China's concentration camps. Unacceptable. And the international response to Beijing's ongoing interference in Hong Kong has been limited at best. More and more countries are adopting oppressive laws modeled after China's digital authoritarianism, and the CCP is exporting its repression around the world. He has offered ZTE technology to Maduro in Venezuela. Iran wants it, Putin wants it, and I can't think of a better tool for a dictator to have than that. China subsidized tech companies sell dystopian technologies to dictators, and the CCP forces international businesses to echo its censorship and propaganda. You know, the NBA is a perfect example. Marriott hotels for recognizing Taiwan. Airlines for saying we're flying to the country of Taiwan. Oh, you can't do that because you've offended somebody in China. Disney was going to show films, their new film coming out that had the 9 dash lines and said Taiwan was a province of China. Thank God for some of the ASEAN countries says, this is BS, you are not showing those movies in our country. I applaud those countries. The scale of CCP human rights abuses combined with CCP's ability to export these abuses globally has no parallel. We need to be on the right side of history. The world has never before been challenged by this kind of technology in a threatening and negative, suppressive way that China is using this today. The United States has taken some significant steps in 2019, including the enactment of the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, the House passage of the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act. We passed the Cambodia Democracy Act, but there is much more to be done, and we have not yet brought the full weight of the U.S. government to bear. The world is still mostly silent on the CCP human rights. Without a mobilized international response, the United States has to continue to lead, and that is why I'm thankful for our hearing today, so we can reflect their human rights leadership in our policy, and I look forward to discussing the current state of the CCP's repression and individual freedoms and democracy and suggestions on our next steps. And I'm looking forward to coming back because I'm kind of fired up about this. Y'all take it.
That I'll recognize the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate everybody's testimony. And I think it all comes down to the money, and I'm going to address that later. But first off, I want to say how blessed I am to have been born in America, to live in this country, because I feel guilty for not appreciating it every day. But when I see you holding up signs and pictures of your family members, how fleeting freedom is, and how fortunate we are in this country. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for braving coming out in public. And I'm going to ask the audience again, of the members that of your family that have been picked up and sent so-called to the re-education camps, how many of those did that free will? I see no hands, so I would say none. How many were gainfully employed and law-abiding citizens before they got picked up? How many? Your mother was? Anybody else? All the pictures here, these people had jobs. They were working. They were lawfully employed, law-abiding citizens. How many of them were deemed terrorists or were troublemakers? That's what we know. Yet China says it's for their own good. We've talked to other members from Xinjiang, pharmacists, accountants, doctors, that were just living their life, and they had a belief, a religious belief. And I wanted to say to Ambassador Wagner that the Pope is going to have some explaining to do when he meets up at the pearly gates of St. Peter's, that he has put God under the Chinese Communist Party because China said that there is no God. Dr. Richardson, you brought out, you talked about, can you send this committee and my office the letter you sent to the 50 universities? I would like to help you have a follow-up with that.
Thank you.
Because I want that answer too, because we've asked that. We can't dictate to China. We can't force China to do anything. The message we need to send to China is, and to our manufacturers, is to institute what we have deemed the ABC policy in manufacturing, and that is called manufacture anywhere but China, because it's about the money. The only thing that allows China to do what they are doing is because of the money. They have cornered the market on the rare earth metals. They have cornered the market 100% of the vitamins and minerals that go into our livestock feed. They control 85 to 90% of the APIs, which are the active pharmaceutical ingredients, and the list goes on and on and on. And so we can't force them to do anything, but we sure can put public pressure on our manufacturers. We can put public pressure on the NBA, and it makes me sick that they come out in defense of China, but yet they're actively supporting a government that is actively suppressing the people. And it's not the people of China, it's what we see in Hong Kong. And thank you for standing up and doing what you do, Joey. I have followed you, and this protest over the weekend, you know, I want you to know that it's not going unnoticed. It's noticed here in the United States of America, it's noticed around the world. And as the chairman said, the more you can do it peacefully, the stronger the message is, because China can't, they don't know how to deal with freedom of thought, because you don't honor the Chinese Communist Party on a pedestal and bow down to it, because that's not the way we're designed. But you know what we can do? Is when I went shopping this weekend to do some projects around the home, I had to buy something. This was made in China. I put it back, and I looked until I found something. It was made in the country of Taiwan. I paid $1.50, two more, maybe extra for it, and I'm happy to support the country of Taiwan over supporting a communist regime that I know is not looking out for humans and human rights. And so that's what we can do individually as people. And if enough of us do that, that message gets over there clear. And I think with the people releasing those 400 pages, I think that's awesome. And that person should get the Nobel Peace Prize when this all settles. Because these people this is what we're fighting. The suppression of people that have normal family lives, and it's just because they choose to have a religion that the Chinese Communist Party doesn't agree with. We've seen this in Tibet. We've seen the erosion of the Tibetan culture. The Chinese government has put drugs in there to dilute that society. They're doing it in Xinjiang. They want to do it in Hong Kong. Who's next? When I first took over the chairman, if you don't mind me, Mr. Chairman, but when I first took over the chairmanship last Congress of this committee, we had a meeting with the country of Taiwan. My office staff, one of them's right here, said that the Chinese ambassadors called them, says, we don't want your member to have that meeting. Can you imagine that? I'm a sitting member of the U.S. Congress, and I'm getting a call from the from China says, you can't have that meeting. I told them to mind their own business. I'll meet with whomever I want to. I was in the country of Chile with a congressman down there. His brother had received 2 ambulances from the country of China. His brother is the mayor in a town. The congressman was having a meeting with the country of Taiwan. China told him, if your brother has that meeting with Taiwan, you will not get any more ambulances. That's the kind of reach they have. Dr. Richardson, you brought up the effect on our educational system. You obviously saw what was going on in Canada over the weekend and last week. Pro-Beijing people were demonstrating and causing conflict with the people that stood up for the human rights and the people standing up in Hong Kong. This is something we, as people of free societies, can and will stand together to make this come to an end. I don't want to buy anything from China. When they start acting properly, maybe they'll have to sing Amazing Grace or something. I don't know what it is. But then we'll treat them as normal. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back and thank you for your time.